You're in Paris, you're in Rome, you know, a guy says, I'll do a caricature, 10 euros, right? Let's show you the front page of Gulf News and our news review. Caricatures of 4 candidates who will be contesting Super Tuesday. This is their headline. Who will win? Well, that's the question everyone's asking. 11 states, and it's going to give us a much clearer picture of what will eventually happen on the 8th of November.
Now, the other story that's on many, many front pages, this image in particular, Europe's migrant crisis is on the front page. This is the International New York Times, where people are fleeing after tear gas was fired at them on the Greece-Macedonia border.
The Daily Telegraph has an image from France's Calais camp known as the Jungle. Protesters setting fire to tents after authorities began dismantling the structures where they've been living.
This is the Financial Times front page. It focuses on Argentina signing an agreement to settle a 15-year dispute over its failure to repay billions of dollars worth of bonds. The deal's being seen as a victory for the country's new president. That's in the FT.
Mumbai's Business Standard crunches numbers from India's budget, which was aimed at boosting growth in the farming sector, also appealing to the rural poor.
And The Independent has this startling image. This is the remains of a German adventurer found on his yacht off the coast of the Philippines. No one had heard from him in a year. It's thought he died of natural causes.
Cornelia Meyer is here this morning, CEO of the business consultancy MRL Corporation.
Morning,
Hello.
Cornelia.
Good morning.
Just 4 caricatures. There are plenty more candidates in the running, but each one of them has their faults. It's a question of who has the least faults, I suppose.
Well, I guess we have Super Tuesday. We have, as you said, 11 states voting, 11 southern states voting. And it's very interesting just to see how the appeal of Donald Trump you know, the appeal of somebody who claims not to be establishment. It's interesting, in this country too, we had in the last election some people who were not establishment, who had a lot of appeal. So it will be interesting to see what happens. A lot of Republicans are clearly worried about what would happen if Trump got ahead too well.
I'll tell you, there's a really interesting story at the moment. I don't know if you've heard this, but Democrats and Republicans are united against Donald Trump on the issue of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, absolutely.
David Duke, former Grand Wizard, apparently, of the Klan, he endorsed Donald Trump, told his supporters it was their duty to vote.
And Donald Trump didn't disavow it. Oh, he did in the end, but he didn't
eventually
immediately.
He said, I don't even know who this guy is.
Now, but it's not just that. I think a lot of Republicans feel what has happened to the old Republican pro-business party, you know, the one of George Bush the first, not the second, George Bush the first, dignified, and Kasich is sort of in that vein, the senator from Ohio. But a lot of Republicans say we don't with Trump and the Tea Party people, we don't recognize anymore what this party stands for.
Okay, if you're here tomorrow, we'll be talking about the same things, I think.
We will.
Well, but the next one is...
Yeah, Donald Trump wants to build a wall, and many European countries are
building walls.
Yeah, or they've got fences up, but they want to keep people out.
Well, it's a very difficult one. It's a very difficult one for Europe to deal with the migratory you know, pull that's coming in. But it's very, very disconcerting to see the violence. Now on the Greek-Macedonian border, the violence also on in Calais. You know, you can feel for Greece. Greece really needs help. This is a country that has that is going through terrible economic times, has this influx. So Europe really should actually pull its arms around Greece and help Greece. We will see what happens in the summit with Davutoglu, the Turkish Prime Minister, on March the 9th. 7th, yeah, in about a week's time. That will be a real crucial summit on how Europe deals with its eastern border and how one can find arrangements. But clearly, this is disconcerting, and if it's a harbinger of things to come, very, very disconcerting.
Have you guys done any analysis of the economic impact of migration?
We haven't done analysis of this scale of migration. There's a lot of analysis of economic migrants who come to countries and the boost that they give to the economy. There's a lot of independent think tanks who basically show analysis of that.
And I think it's a good thing, especially like Germany and Sweden, who need young people. But the question is how fast, how quick, and what can you do for integration?
And also, this is a different scenario where you've got lots and lots of very young, small children. Many of them are orphaned as well. So it's a very different story.
I think a third of them are children, I think. But you see, the point I was trying to make was that they're not all coming from war zones. Some of these people have enough money to pay the boatmen who are illegally smuggling them, and then they look for a PowerPoint to charge their iPhones. They've got money. They're not just escaping war. There's a difference between the two sets.
There may be a difference, and that's what Merkel is going on about in Germany, saying we can't deal with much more. We will take the people who really come from war zones. So Syrians have first access, Iraqis have first access, but very tragic for people from Afghanistan, because things are not happy, as you know, in Afghanistan.
Quite a few of them from Eritrea and places like that as well. I mean, it's not just those countries. It's very, very complicated.
It's complicated, and it's like a mass migration.
Right. Talking of complicated, Cornelia, make sense of Argentina's debt deal. This is on the front page of the Financial Times. Argentina has been in financial difficulty for quite some time, but does this mean it's all sorted now? Talk us through it.
I think it means it's on the way of being sorted. They had 4 what they call holdouts, which was sort of the big one was Elliott Management, who didn't agree with the debt restructuring in 2001 and said we will not agree to that. That blocked them from this basically getting a haircut for the investors, getting a haircut on their investment. And that blocked them from going to the markets, and they've been going on. And with the last president, she was quite belligerent, Mrs. de Kirchner was quite belligerent towards them. And the new president has come in and said, look, we need to sort this. And they've got an agreement with the 4 holdouts. They've also got an agreement that they will not go against them raising 15 billion so they can pay back without having to go into their reserves.
Does this mean then that for Argentina now it can move on?
It means it can move on.
Because it desperately needs to do that.
It desperately needs to do that, and it means it has access again to the international debt markets, and that it needs to move on.
What did you make of India's budget yesterday?
I thought it was really, really interesting, and also a lot of elements in there that we weren't necessarily expecting. But also I felt it was a budget that comes ahead of local elections.
It absolutely is a budget that comes, that's key, but it also does, I think it does all the right things. It still tries to balance the budget. Yes, it does give some subsidies for food and things like that, rural subsidies, farmers. But don't forget, the Indians have cut their fuel subsidies last autumn. When oil prices were low, they took advantage, and fuel subsidies were a big hole in the budget. It is quite strong on wanting to collect taxes, so I think it does all the right things.
Does the numbers add up, though? Because it's quite big figures in terms of spending.
It's quite big figures, but it's also quite figures. If they actually can collect the taxes that they say they will collect, and India is not the best country in terms of tax collection, but if they can collect the taxes they say will collect, if they can sort of sell off the telecoms licenses that they say to the price they think, then it will add up. Otherwise, it will not add up. But in a country which has such a disparity between rich and poor, and where you have so many rural poor, India has not done what China did in terms of lifting as many people out of poverty into middle classes. This is probably a sensible budget.
I like that line that we talked about yesterday, providing electricity to every single village in India by 2018. That
would be good. Look, I used to work for the Asian Development Bank, and I was lending to the state electricity boards. That was in the early 90s. It was, to say the least, a challenging endeavor.
Yes. Okay, you were supposed to talk for another 50 seconds because you don't want to talk about the mummified remains of this poor German explorer.
It's such a horrible way to start the day.
It is, but the picture is amazing. It's ridiculous.
It's
apparently that's what Sea Air does.
It's Manfred Bajorat,
yes,
if that's how you pronounce his name, who died of natural causes, it is thought. But it's all the salt, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
the
suppose,
salt.
yeah,
It's the
that's right,
salt
yeah.
in the
In the
water,
boat, in the water where he's
which mummifies
been
you.
left, that has just kept his body in that state. Is quite extraordinary.
It's absolutely incredible. There's so many people around the world who want that challenge of a solo expedition, but obviously there are always those dangers.
Yeah, but you know, this makes the headlines, and I look at the whole migration issue. To me, that's, you know, much more important.
Absolutely, but we always choose a slightly different sixth story. As you know, Cornelia, you've been here many times before. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.